Welcome to another action-packed, exciting hour of the Smoky Mountain Wrestling Rewatch Along Project. This is podcasting the way it used to be and the way you like it. This show is a production of the Something Else Podcasting Network, and this is episode number 103 of Smoky Mountain Wrestling from January 15th, 1994. And I just realized I never wrote down what day the show was taped. From Chilhowie High
Oh,
School in Chilhowie, Virginia. My name is
January
Arya.
10th. I'm sorry.
I
January.
knew it was something like that. Yeah. Um, Joining me as always is the Jeff Victory to my Jason Hearn. It's Trae. Trae, are you awake over there?
I am amazingly. I right before we got on this Zoom call, I was on a work Zoom call that I was giving Arya live commentary on. This is a much better Zoom call to be on.
It was super exciting, if I recall correctly. I'm a little surprised you are, in fact, still awake over there.
Well, I was just so excited to talk about Smoky Mountain Wrestling. There was some stuff I really liked on this show, so I am excited to talk about it.
This was a really good show. I really enjoyed it. I am still sad that we are on the second half of this show. Um, where after episode 100, so we got less than 100 to go.
By the way,
So
just because I came across it and wanted to share this tidbit with the people, Chilhowie is believed to come from a Cherokee word meaning Valley of Many Deer.
nice. And I believe Chilhowie is the place where uh Jim Cornette, well, actually, no, I guess he tried to murder Perry Landell in Knoxville, but Chilhowie,
That
Virginia
was
was.
uh, the venue in Knoxville that like I don't know if SMW ever ran it, but in the like southeastern days, when they weren't running the big shows at the Coliseum, they ran at another venue, an outdoor venue called Chilhowie Park.
That was in Tennessee.
Yes, it's in Knoxville, and
Uh, no,
that was where Cornette tried to kill
Perry
was it
Landell.
Terry Landell? Yeah.
Yes. And he now admits to it because, enough time has passed and you can't be
Statute of
charged for this.
limitations.
Yes. You wonder if OJ would have done that. Okay. So
I don't think there's a statute of limitations for murder.
possibly. So I know you're not a fake sports fan, but did you see Pete Rose is now eligible for the Baseball Hall of Fame?
I did. Justice served, finally.
And
Or
uh, uh,
justice has the potential to be served.
I mean, it's one of those things where it's like if he's not in the Hall of Fame, then who the hell is? You know, is like I get he gambled on baseball, but and I think I ranted about this last year on the show in a conversation that probably went nowhere considering how much you care about sports. But when all these gambling websites are now major sponsors of every sport, of every sports telecast, and every news report that they tell you about how this person's been suspended for gambling and that person's being investigated for gambling are usually followed by, and this game is sponsored by DraftKings. Use the code, you know,
Yeah,
use the code
I,
lifetime ban for to match your first deposit up to $10 million.
I don't know anything about baseball. I have the idea that Pete Rose was like a Hall of Fame player, level baseball player, but then like he was barred from Major League Baseball for the gambling thing. And it seems like I remember even like 25, 27 years ago when he was doing the WrestleMania spots, like it was pretty much universally agreed that that was bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, like he is baseball's all-time leading hit leader.
Okay.
He has over 4,000 hits. I think
Oh,
it's something like
a lot.
4,200. Uh, and uh, Now, last year in Major League Baseball, the leader for the most hits for the entire year was Bobby Witt Jr., who had 211. He would have to get that many hits for 20 years to break Pete Rose's record. Just
Wow.
that's pretty much the level of record this is, where it's like, it's one of those records that is not going to get beaten anytime soon. You know,
It sounds to me like a fella like that ought to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
oh yeah, he definitely should be, and I I'll be honest, he should get in this year because I guess he's eligible this year, but it's like I could see the reporters and people who have the vote not voting for him just to say, well, we're going to vote you in next year, but you're not going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer,
Yeah.
even though
Hey,
he
look,
should have
I
been
am
in, 30 years ago.
yeah. I am very pro people getting the recognition that they deserve. Like I hate the current the malignant narcissist traitor who occupies the Oval Office, but I will admit that the one thing that he has earned in his life was that WWE Hall of Fame induction.
Okay. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it is the most watched show in pro wrestling history and will remain that way at least for a couple decades because I don't see them changing the way they do pay-per-view anytime soon.
Yeah, I don't think they're putting the toothpaste back in that tube.
I mean, if they like, I think if the TV deals crash, like I don't mean like they lose them, but I mean like if the money takes a tumble, I could see them doing that. But now they're getting $1 billion for Raw and several $100 million a year for SmackDown. Who cares if they're not making $10 million on a pay-per-view?
Unless the
That's the
whole
whole
like
like
market
market.
crashes, which hey, that could happen tomorrow. I think it's more likely that WrestleMania will end up on fucking Netflix or the network TV.
I mean, there was that rumor like during the pandemic that NBC or Fox was trying to bid for WrestleMania on NBC and Fox, which of course obviously didn't end up happening, but there was always that rumor.
Yeah.
Um, oh man, I'd say how the hell did we get to this point? But I actually know how the hell we got to this point. The other one that has been reinstated is Shoeless Joe Jackson, who he was part of the White Sox scandal in like 1918 or 1919, where the team took money from the mob to throw the World Series. But from all accounts, Shoeless Joe was the only person actually trying to win. But in for a penny, in for a pound, they banned everybody. Um,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
the funniest thing though is the Baseball Hall of Fame is not the MLB Hall of Fame. So being banned from Major League Baseball, in theory, like that doesn't stop you from being eligible for the Baseball Hall of Fame. Like they're not the same thing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Hey,
like
speaking of breaking news,
Killer
I
Kyle beat Ron Eagle in a dark match.
yeah, that too. Apparently, I'm just seeing come across my news feed the Texas House of Representatives. That's usually a foreboding start to a sentence, but this time, has just advanced a bipartisan bill that would significantly expand the state's medical cannabis program. And if I am reading this right, if this somehow passes, I think I might would be eligible for it.
Nice. Good luck. Um, and I gotta say, when you said Texas House of Representatives, I'm like, okay, that sounds bad, but you sounded too happy about saying that. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
did you see the Onion post earlier today? Texas bans being different around children. Yeah, that's probably where you thought it was going.
I did not see that, but that certainly although it's like, and I know now we're just going down a funny road here, but that would be an impossible bill to pass because um how would you describe what different is? Like you'd have to put into law what is would be considered normal and thus ban what would be considered different. And it's too vague that it would stand up to any kind of scrutiny. And I know this is an Onion article, and I am giving way too much time to complain about how it's not possible. But yeah, it's not possible.
That was way too much time examining a premise that did not have a realistic stance to begin with.
But by the way, okay, this is my podcast, so I'm just gonna say it. Okay, I don't know who the fuck out there thinks that, them being a random stranger, sending me some nasty message is going to affect me one bit. I've said this and I'll say it again. It's like the people in my life actually love and support me. So why would I give a flying fuck what some Karen douchebag who is too afraid to say make a peep to me in person says about me on Facebook?
Yeah,
Like the
fuck them.
block button exists for a reason. And it's like, go fuck yourself and the goat you rode in on.
I agree. Fuck them
Anywho,
all.
anywho, let's talk about some Smoky Mountain Wrestling, shall we?
Yeah,
This
let's.
is from Chilhowie High School in not Chilhowie, West Virginia, Chilhowie, regular Virginia. Let's go to the intro with Bob and Dutch. This is a little bit longer of an intro than usual, because it features a special appearance by The Rock and his partner Roll Express.
Welcome to another exciting action-packed hour of Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Professional wrestling the way it used to be and the way you like it. Hi, wrestling fans. I'm Bob Caudle along with Dr. Dirty Dutch Mantel. And we're going to have a lot of fun during the next hour because we got a lot of great action to send your way. By the way, we're going to hear from the Bullet this week as he's going to make Jim Cornette a very special offer. And that's something we're going to look forward to hearing. Also, we're going to hear some news about Bloody Sunday, which is coming up February 13th in Knoxville, Tennessee, Dutch. That's going to be a wild time. Also, we're going to have Down and Dirty Dutch. Who you got there this week?
It's a dirty reunion once again. Dr. Dutch, that's me. I'm going to be in the ring with a dirty white boy and the dirty white girl. We're going to get some real good comments from them. But Chris Candido will be making his first defense of Beat the Champ, and I will now draw for his opponent today.
All right, and while you're doing that, let me tell all the fans, too, our Smoky Mountain Heavyweight Title match. You know who we're going to have in that one? Primetime Brian Lee against Bobby Blaze. That match, who we got now?
Okay, his opponent today for his first defense, Ricky Morton, will face Chris Candido today, right here on Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
All right, fans, as we say, it's going to be just a great, great hour of wrestling action right here on Smoky Mountain Wrestling. We want all you fans to stay tuned. Dutch, wait a minute, here they are, rock and roll.
All right, that's right. You know, I'm glad they picked my name for Beat the Champ because I sure can't use that extra $1,000. And I hope everybody had great holidays. And I know in 1994 we really want something. That is to put those Smoky Mountain Tag Team titles back around our waist, Bob. And let's take all the fans, and we love you with everything we have. Thank you very much.
All right. What is that, Dutch?
Well, like Gene Dixon or something? I don't know what it is.
Hey, listen to this, Dutch. It says, Bob, don't tell Ricky, but his father, Paul, is here tonight. Paul has been in bad health, and Ricky couldn't go home for Christmas because we were wrestling, so they haven't seen each other in a long time. I flew Paul over here as a surprise to Ricky. He's in the extra locker room, and we're going to surprise Ricky later in the program. What about that, fans? Signed, Robert Gibson. Hey, that's going to be great. I know Rick's really going to be surprised about that. We'll be ready for other action, fans, when we come back right after this.
I bet Ricky would have been a lot more surprised if Caudle didn't read it over the PA system.
You followed my exact same train of thought. The other thing was that I I got excited at the prospect of Ricky Morton versus Chris Candido, and then felt stupid.
So did I, and I thought, wow, Chris Candido is one and done as TV champion because the SMW food chain, Ricky Morton is a lot higher up on it than Chris Candido, even though Chris Candido is a triple champion.
Jim Cornette, you owe me a Ricky Morton Chris Candido match.
Yes. Well, we'll see if we get one in the next 97 weeks. By the way, yeah, I think you and I have been podcasting together way too long because this is like 5 times this week that you and I were on the same wavelength. Um, so we'll hear from the Bullet with a very special offer and more news about Bloody Sunday, Bloody Sunday, this poor show title. I bet Cornette was trying to change the name in the middle of the show because it's like Caudle couldn't get it right. Later on in the show, Dutch doesn't get it right. And we'll get to it, but Caudle basically starts reading off a piece of paper. You could tell because,
It's Sunday, Bloody Sunday. It's supposed to be, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Poor
Bob.
And down and dirty today, it's going to be Dirty White Boy and Trae's girlfriend in a really dirty segment. And Primetime Brian Lee versus Bobby Blaze for the Smoky Mountain Heavyweight Title. That should be a real Lulu.
Look, I can make fun of Bobby Blaze getting a title shot, but there's something in that match that I really like, so I'm gonna let it slide.
Okay, I wonder if it's the same thing I really liked. I guess we'll see. All right, so from the intro, we now go to Brian Matthews, who's standing outside a conference room, and we're going to see what's going on with Bullet Bob Armstrong and the Bullet in general as we head towards Sunday, Bloody Sunday, not to be confused with Sunny, Bloody Sunny, which is what I almost said.
Fans, the Bullet made Jim Cornette an offer, give him a match to restore Bob Armstrong as the commissioner, and he could name his stipulations. Dutch, you're not going to believe it. Here's what Cornette agreed to, fans. Watch it right here.
Hi, wrestling fans. I'm Brian Matthews for Smoky Mountain Wrestling. We are standing outside the conference room where the Smoky Mountain Wrestling Board of Directors have been meeting to go over the plans that the offer the Bullet has made to Jim Cornette about the commissionership of Smoky Mountain Wrestling. We're not quite sure of the details. As we said, they have been meeting in session with Jim Cornette and also the Bullet. Here we have Smoky Mountain Wrestling General Manager Sandy Scott. Mr. Scott, what's been taking place inside the conference room?
Well, it doesn't look good for Bob Armstrong. Cornette's really gone out on the limb. He's got one of his commissioners on the board, and it's just doesn't look good for Bob.
Fans, we're still not quite sure of all the details. As we've said, the Board of Directors have been meeting in session to go over the offer the Bullet has made. And we have...
Terry, I love you, baby.
Mr. Cornette, about this offer the Bullet has made.
Hey, let me explain something to everybody right now. I am a happy guy today, and I want to take everybody back... God, you're ugly. I want to take everybody back to when the Bullet, who everybody knows as Bob Armstrong, he made a little offer a couple of weeks back. He said, Cornette, I have got all the confidence in the world now. I've beaten all your challengers. I've done all these things. Now I'm ready to go for the big one. I want to clear Bob Armstrong's name. If you will agree to put up a match where I can be, or actually he said Bob Armstrong could be the commissioner again, but everybody knows it's him. The Bullet wanted a match where Bob Armstrong could be commissioner again, and he'd do anything else I asked. He would go under any stipulation. He'd face any challenger. Well, I sat and I thought about this for a while. Harry White, who is a close personal friend of mine, and my mother now, who's on the board of directors, assisted me in thinking about this little contract that I've had signed. First thing I had to do was find somebody for Bob Armstrong to wrestle. Now, I went down a list of everybody in professional wrestling, even those under contract with the WWF, of course, who are available to me, even WCW, what little they have. And I sat and I went over that list, and the only person that I could find, the one man that Bob Armstrong has never defeated in the Knoxville Civic Coliseum, never beaten for a 3 count, is the turbulent Texan himself, Terry Funk. And I called up Terry Funk, and for the right price, he'll do anything, especially for a good friend like me. So Terry Funk was the man that I chose to face the Bullet. But then as for stipulations, I sat long and hard and I thought about this, because you see, as long as I agree that if the Bullet wins, then Bob Armstrong can be commissioner again, then he said everything else was open. It was a clear field. So you know what I did? I came up with a stipulation that would hurt Bob Armstrong worse than anything else. I know how much he loves Smoky Mountain Wrestling. I know how much he loves Knoxville. So the stipulation is that if he loses, if Terry Funk beats Bob Armstrong, beats the Bullet, then the Bullet takes that mask off And he shows his face. Not another mask on underneath, but he shows his face to everybody in the Coliseum, and he leaves Smoky Mountain Wrestling forever. But there's one thing that he gets to do before he does that, before he leaves Smoky Mountain Wrestling, before he rides off into the sunset forever. He gets to do one more thing. His last official act in Smoky Mountain Wrestling will be for Bob Armstrong to get down on his hands and knees in the middle of the Knoxville Civic Coliseum in front of the fans that have loved and supported him for 25 years, in front of any family members that he cares to bring, in front of his friends, in front of the other wrestlers, in front of the photographers, and the man with the camera, and everybody in the world of wrestling watching. Bob Armstrong gets to get down on his hands and stinking knees in the middle of that ring. And he gets to crawl across that ring one agonizingly humiliating step at a time. And he gets to kiss Jim Cornette's feet. That's exactly right. Bob Armstrong, if you get beat, you not only have to leave, but you've got to humiliate yourself. You've got to degrade yourself beyond that which any mortal man has ever had to undergo in his life. You got to crawl across that ring in the Coliseum, and you got to kiss my feet. And believe me, I ain't gonna wash for a week, and I'm gonna wear the oldest pair of socks that I can find. And then you tuck your tail between your legs, and you leave Smoky Mountain Wrestling forever. I think I got the best part of the bargain.
All right, so I think JC's been listening to too many Jerry Lawler promos, because that was always a Jerry Lawler thing, that he wants them to get down on their hands and knees and kiss his feet. And JC somehow beat Jerry Lawler to that stipulation.
Yeah, I guess so. Because they don't do that until 95.
King of the Ring 95. Yep.
Yeah. But well, who stole it from who then?
Well, I think that WWF obviously stole it from Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Because even though Lawler was always saying that other people should go and kiss his feet, they never actually had a match, until later on.
Huh. So this Cornette, he makes just the wildest accusation. This week, I have heard this man claim that Stagger Lee and the Junkyard Dog was one of the same, which is just utterly absurd. They hate each other.
Shenanigans.
And now he's claiming that the Bullet is Bob Armstrong?
I think Cornette is losing his mind. Actually, since one happened in 84 and the other happened in 94, it's possible Cornette never had his mind.
That's true. Did he accuse something ridiculous in 2004 in OVW? Maybe we'll find out in a few years.
Isn't that when Johnny Ace had the brilliant idea to make Matt Morgan wear a mask so he could learn like body language or some shit? Do you remember that story?
I don't know. I think so. Whose idea was that? Who was that?
Johnny Ace. Hi, Jim. I'm sorry, that was my Tommy Rich voice. My Tommy Rich voice and my Johnny Ace voice are remarkably similar. But yeah, so Brian Matthews is standing outside a conference room while the board was discussing Bullet Bob trying to become commissioner again. Now, Trae, I know we sometimes call bullshit on offices and locker rooms and whatnot, but you know how I knew this was a conference room? It said in big stupid letters on the door, conference room.
Well,
I mean,
they unlike AEW, they want people to be able to find where they're going.
Very true. And Sandy Scott comes out and he says it doesn't look good for Bob, which I'm thinking, okay, there's 3 members of the board of directors, and 2 of them are you and Mark Curtis. How can you not get this match signed? And I guess it's not so much that it turned out it wasn't because he couldn't get the match agreed to. It's because Cornette is just laying on stipulations here. And I had to laugh because said the only person Bob has never beaten in Knoxville, he just didn't beat Dick Murdoch. A few weeks ago. But by the sounds of it, Dick Murdoch was needing a new house and whatnot for coming in. So Terry Funk probably came in cheaper.
This commissioner that Mama Cornette has bought and paid for, I was thinking along the same lines you were. How is the one commissioner keeping the other two from doing anything? Is he just filibustering?
That's my guess. That like he's just being so fucking annoying and just not letting anything get accomplished, that they're letting him get through some shit just to shut him the fuck up. And the way Cornette said it, I thought for a second he was saying that his mom was on the board of directors.
I mean, she might as well be. I just had the silliest thought. I would give anything to say that to see Jim Cornette filibuster in the House of Representatives.
I don't think that would be silly at all.
It would be fucking entertaining.
Indeed, it would. It would even make me watch that channel where the people stand in a big chamber while numbers appear on the screen. You know, that would suddenly be interesting. And yes, I'm being too subtle with that one. I'm talking about C-SPAN and a televised House vote. It's not the Men's Warehouse security camera. I also wrote, just being the smartass that I am, Cornette looked over the list of everyone in wrestling and found the one man who wasn't booked on February 13th. I mean, the one guy Bob has never beaten in Knoxville. It's 8 days after the three-way dance. I thought for a second it was the day after the three-way dance, or the night the line was crossed, excuse me. But no, the night the line was crossed was the 5th, and this shows the 13th.
Yeah.
So then after all this, we finally go to the ring for a match. Jeff Victory versus Tracy Smothers. Jeff Victory might have been the logical second step in the evolution from Jack Victory to Steve Corino, because he looked like Steve Corino in 1999 if Corino had gained like 50 to 60 pounds.
That's not a terrible description. I have a new jobber dream team. I don't know if they ever teamed, but I hope and pray that they did. Jeff Victory and Mike Winter.
And they would lose all the time.
Yes.
What if they had a match, and I don't know who his partner would be. We could probably eventually figure somebody out. But they had a match against Trash Lose Again.
Oh, wow. That's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Yes. Because the only thing Trash ever won was Sergeant Nelson's hat. I interviewed RD once way back one of my old podcasts, and I had to ask him if Sergeant Nelson still calls angrily asking about his hat. Because apparently,
I wonder if he still talks to Mike Check.
I'm sure he does. I'm sure he does. I'm sure he sits in his office every day and just plays sound drops, all day long.
Yeah.
So I wrote tracked one with the jaw jacker. I probably meant Tracy.
I wrote that Tracy won with the jaw jackers, so I would assume that's correct.
Yeah. All right, so let's go to an interview with our own triple champion, Chris Candido.
Now here he is, the Suicide Blonde, Chris Candido. We just got another look. We went back to take another look at what happened last week against Tracy Smothers. Very, very controversial ending to that match.
Well, Bob, I got a few things to say. Number one, even more important than Tracy Smothers, is I got a brand new United States Junior Heavyweight Championship belt made. The other one had that Kentucky idiot's hands all over it. I refused to touch it. Number two, I know for a fact that Tracy Smothers is not from Tennessee. He is really Vito Marinara of Schuylkill Haven, Pennsylvania. And myself and Mr. Dennis Carluzzo are going to have proof of that in just a few weeks. Now, you know, not only am I still the world champion, the U.S. Junior Heavyweight champion, but I'm the Beat the Champ TV champion. And, you know, last week I beat Tracy Smothers after he ran for me for 1 week. And thank God the only good thing that grumpy old man Sandy Scott ever did was give me a rematch with Tracy. I beat him last week, and I'm going to beat Ricky Morton this week and keep the TV title. What do you think about that, Bob?
I think that's a big, tall order.
What do you think of his new belt?
It's a good-looking belt.
You think so? You know, Tracy Smothers, you ran for me for a week. Then last week I beat you. You, everybody else, thought I was a joke when I came here. Well, I'm not a joke anymore, man. You want to get in that ring one more time? I dropped you on your head in Knoxville. Maybe it wasn't the best thing to do. Drop you on your head doesn't hurt you. But I beat Tracy last week. I'm going to beat Morton this week and keep the TV title, still the junior heavyweight champion, and still the heavyweight champion of the world.
All right, fans, we're going to be back. We'll have more action right.
All right. So they got a new belt. And I wonder, because I mean, obviously with how long this fucking belt lasts, I guarantee they did not spend the money to get a new title belt.
I honestly thought that we were done with the U.S. Junior Heavyweight title.
I'm shocked that we're not, to be perfectly honest with you. And for the second week in a row, I did pop when he said that Tracy Smothers was really Vito Marinara from Schuylkill Haven, PA. And he said he would retain his title tonight, which we'll see if he's able to. Not that we didn't spoil it at the beginning of the episode.
We didn't exactly spoil it. We just said the match was disappointing.
I kind of did.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I didn't flat out say it, but I mean, I definitely implied it. So from here, we were going to go to Down and Dirty with Dutch. But before that, we spent, I don't know, 7 minutes, maybe longer, re-airing the footage from last week of the three-way on Christmas night in Knoxville, and then the impromptu match from last week between Dirty White Boy and Primetime Brian Lee. And I'll say this, like, I'm not complaining about it, but it's like, I think it's a good idea. You know, like one of the things people complained about a few years ago, when Raw was like, it was a 3-hour show, and at the top of every hour, they would spend an absurd amount of time recapping what's already aired on the show. And so in like a 3-hour show, you'd really only get like 90 to 100 minutes of new material. And so when AEW started, they did not replay shit at all, or at least very much, because like that was one of the big complaints about wrestling. And it's like, no, you replay stuff, you just don't do it to excess. You know?
Yeah. That. By the way, so I guess we're not going to play the intro because it's unnecessary. But every week Dutch says he's somebody weird. And this week it was John Bobbett, and you better fucking hope not Dutch.
I assume he had, like, it had to have already happened, because why else would he bring up?
Like the summer before, summer '93. Yeah. I would looked it up after he said that just to make sure.
Yeah, like otherwise, it wasn't like he was some sort of fake and
no,
you know, whatever. Like, you
no,
know,
that's the only reason. That was the only reason we know the names John and Lorena Bobbett.
He had his dong chopped off, but you know, luckily for him, it was recovered.
And many years later, he saved Val Venis from a similar fate.
Yes, because what would have happened had he not turned off the lights? I just like that
Val Venis would probably have had to develop a very different perspective on transgender people.
Yeah, probably. I just like, and I guess like, what do you do if like in real life there's a crazy guy with a sword standing in front of you threatening to chop off a man's penis? But there's like a whole bunch of agents and officials in that room asking him to stop and not do it. It's like, somebody tackle him to the ground kind of thing. But I guess I don't know. It's like the why
Uh,
don't you just kick Chucky across the room, thing. But
Yamaguchi-san was about the size of Chucky, so yeah.
poor Mr. Yamaguchi. First his underage wife gets besmirched by Val
Uh,
Venis, and she wasn't really underage, but like that was the big controversy at the time. Was like
yeah.
people like she was somewhere between 16 and 22, and it's like oh. I was like, I remember when she debuted, like they had her sitting in the crowd next to another Asian woman, and it was an older Asian woman, like probably 40s or so, and they're like, oh, Yamaguchi's son's wife is in the crowd, and they show the older Asian woman sitting next to the younger Asian woman. It's like, oh, his wife is obviously the older Asian woman, and for all I know, that's probably who his wife really was, but
Yeah, I don't know.
that wasn't who they
And
meant.
this,
You didn't notice?
and us picking it at Yamaguchi-san is all just in good fun, as far as I know. Never heard anybody say a
It's
bad word about Wally Yamaguchi.
no, 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 no. And then it was his brother who was in WWE for a while, right? Who did the announcing in WWE. He did Japanese announcing.
Did he? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There was somebody named Yamaguchi who did commentary with Funaki on all the pay-per-views when they used to go down the row of international
Oh,
announcers back in the day.
yeah. Was that a young? Yeah, I guess I never made that connection.
Um, and to be honest, like this was during the I don't say peak of bad Michael Cole, because when do you pick a peak of bad Michael Cole? But it was like
2010.
I think the announced team was Michael Cole, Jonathan Coachman, and Corey Graves, which if they would have found a way to get 1998 Shane McMahon in there, that would have been my announced team from hell. And I remember one pay-per-view, I just turned on the Japanese commentary instead and watched it
Heel
that
Michael
way.
Cole in 2009, 2010 was the nadir of wrestling announcing.
Oh God. Anytime I ever like complain about other announcers, I go back and watch those early episodes of Sunday Night Heat with Shane McMahon. Like that. Like even Vince is like, okay, I cannot keep my son on the fucking announce team for long.
Yeah, poor Shane.
Yes. Well, let's go to Down and Dirty with Dutch and see what the Dirty White Boy wants.
Okay, you've seen what's gone on in the past. Right now, joining me, the dirty white girl, the dirty white boy, and it's a dirty reunion here on Down and Dirty with Dust. Now, if these fans will shut up here, we'll get something out of here. White boy, you're still hot on the trail of Primetime Brian Lee, and I know you're looking after Tammy Fitz. What do you got in your plan book now, white boy?
Well, I've got a lot of things planned for Primetime Brian Lee. I've talked to all the officials, the board of directors, and I'm trying to get one particular match signed against Primetime Brian Lee because, you know, the only reason I don't have that Smoky Mountain Heavyweight title around my waist is because of all the outside interference with that little Tammy, whatever you want to call her, running around. The dirty white girl's been doing an excellent job, but Tammy Fitch ought to sign up for the Olympic track team because she can bust 100 in about 4 seconds. But like I said, I've talked to everybody I possibly can, and I'm still talking to them, and if I can get this match signed, there's no way on the face of God's green earth Primetime Brian Lee can get away from me, and I will become the Smoky Mountain Heavyweight Champion.
Okay, well, let me say this right now. You've tried before. You've made several unsuccessful attempts to take that title away from Brian Lee. As of yet, you are still walking around titleless. You don't have a belt around your waist. So what you're trying to say is you want a special type of match with Brian Lee. Is that right?
That's exactly what I'm saying. If I can get this one particular match, prime time, the title's coming home to the white boy. That's all I got to say.
Wait a minute. You never told us, or you never told me what that match is.
Didn't I tell you?
No.
Apparently it's none of your business. When Primetime Brian Lee hears about this match, the whole world will hear about it, I guarantee you. Let's rock, white boy.
Oh, it's a big secret, huh? Okay, anyway, fans, don't go away. We'll be right back in 2 minutes. I didn't like that remark there, pal.
Okay. So if this were real, how could Primetime Brian Lee how could Primetime really sign a contract for a match without knowing the type of match he's going to be in?
Okay, if anybody in this territory would just sign a contract without bothering to read it, it's Brian Lee.
He probably figured Tammy would have read it for him. Now,
yeah, I imagine she did the reading in that relationship.
I don't know for a fact what match it is. I'm assuming it's a Tennessee chain match.
I believe I know what match it is. I think they said it during the local promos. They're doing mixed tags with the title on the line.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's not as good.
It's not as good. You're right. But yeah. So yeah, I think they said I know they said during the local promos, and I think I may have heard it somewhere that it's the titles on the line, and also if oh, maybe there are different matches. I may be getting different things confused. Because there was one, they definitely talked about the mixed tag in the local promo. And at one point, they talked about a match. Maybe, was that announced for Sunday Bloody Sunday? The match where if White Boy wins, White Girl gets 5 minutes with Tammy?
No, they said that next week we'll find out what Dirty White Boy's match is for Bloody Sunny Bloody.
Okay, yeah, okay. So there's something like that in there.
Yeah. And it's funny because I still remember this from PWI reporting this back in the day. And who would have thought PWI would actually report something of substance back in the 90s? But Sunday Bloody Sunday this year to something like 4,000 something people. And then next year does 1,300. And that was like a big sign that things may not be going well for this company right now.
That's rough.
Yep. So yeah, we'll see. He says if he gets this one match signed, he will become the champion, and then doesn't say what the match is. See, this point, it's like if you can just name any stipulation you want, why wouldn't you have a Brian Lee must lay on the mat with his shoulders firmly pressed against the mat match? You know? And I guess okay, Dirty White Boy's a babyface. Why wouldn't that be Jim Cornette's match for the Bullet? The Bullet must lay flat on his back for the entire match. I bet if anybody could have a fucking great match laying flat on his back the whole time, it would have been fucking Bob Armstrong.
Well, Terry Funk, yeah, I don't doubt it.
It could have been the fucking Ali Inoki fight.
Oh.
Why did anybody think of this? All right. So from here, I got nervous. Well, let's just play the promo first. Darryl Van Horn is back, and he's with Bob Caudle. And I'll tell you why I got nervous in about 2 minutes.
All right, fans, with me right now here is Darryl Van Horn, and of course, he's the manager who looks after one that we've heard him talk about so many weeks, Prince Karras. We've talked about him. You've went on and on about it. I have yet to see him, and I don't think any of the fans have ever seen him on television.
Well, everybody in the Smoky Mountain Wrestling area, all these stupid crackers are going to be in for a big treat. You know, it's a new year. You can tell that Christmas is come and gone because all of these men stink like a high karate gift set, and all of the women out here have Rudolph's hoof prints on their back and rug burns on their knees. And also in this new year, Prince Karras is going to make his debut on Smoky Mountain Wrestling next week right here on television. Yes, he will, Bob. I held it back for a while. These people weren't worthy of seeing him. Now, when we come out here, I want to make sure that all of you stupid Smoky Mountain crackers give him a reception worthy of an Egyptian prince, worthy of a holy man. He is, after all, the high priest of the Temple of the Sun, and if you idiots don't believe me, just read it in the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the one book that tells you the true mysteries of the universe, that solves all the enlightenment problems in the world, unlike that other pack of fairy tales these idiots read every Sunday. Now, in just a short while,
In just a few short weeks, Prince Karras is going to start letting the blood of the Nile fill the arenas in the Smoky Mountain area, just like I said they would. Screw your wigs on tight and get ready for the reign of Prince Karras.
We'll look forward to next week, fans. No doubt about that. Let's go.
Okay, so a nice dig at the Bible there. And, all the women have Rudolph's prints on their back and rug burns on their knees.
Yeah.
Another little, yeah. I just love, like, poor Bob Caudle, who, the look on his face when, Darrell Van Horn is saying this shit. And soon after Darrell leaves, the gangsters come in. It's a 1-2 punch to Bob Caudle. There's no surprise why he leaves next year.
Oh, poor Bob. Poor Bob.
Okay, so I'll be honest, what I thought was happening, and I don't know why, because once I thought this, then I remembered what I read on Cage Match. I thought maybe Prince Karras was done for, and this was going to be the famous promo where Darrell Van Horn pulls a Paulie. Actually, no, he never did that, but he does do a promo that Paulie was supposed to do that time, where he talked about he's looking for talent and scouting the world, and then the next week was when he harassed the fuck out of Cornette on the phone and got fired for it. I was worried that was this week, but nope. We still have a while to go with poor Darrell Van Horn.
And Prince Karras, presumably.
Yes. Bob Caudle, who is the announcer on every show that this show has ever had, says that he doesn't think he's seen Prince Karras on TV yet. Also shows you he did not watch the Thanksgiving Thunder Tour episode, but the second annual Thanksgiving Thunder Tour. Sorry,
that happened over 4th of July weekend.
Yes. Sorry for besmirching the second annual Thanksgiving Thunder Tour like that. Any other comments on Darrell Van Horn?
I don't I want to be annoyed at him this in a way, the shit that he says, a lot of it feels today to 2025 ears sounds like kind of lowest common denominator shit, but he's so funny. And it's just him doing this shit in goddamn Chilhowie, Virginia. And I bet Bob Caudle ain't the only person in the arena that don't know what the fuck he's talking about. It's just so fucking funny to watch.
I bet Caudle knew more than most people. But yeah, the 200 people in attendance did not have one fucking clue what Darrell Van Horn was saying to them. Except that they knew that he was being mean towards them.
And that was all they needed.
Yep. All right. So up next, we had our triple champion, Chris Candido, which in case you don't remember, it's the WWA World Heavyweight Championship, the Smoky Mountain United States Junior Heavyweight Championship, and the Beat the Champ TV title. First man, perhaps only man in wrestling history to simultaneously be a heavyweight champion and a junior heavyweight champion.
And an openweight champion.
Yeah, there you go. And he took on Ricky Morton for only 1/3 of those belts. And I was worried that his title reign as triple champion was going to last a shorter amount of time than his partner Lance Storms did. Now, have you noticed ever since Horner left, they almost always plug Pam Lawson during the Rock and Roll Express's matches?
I was wondering, you think Cornette was telling us that Ricky banged Pam too?
I mean, is there anybody Ricky didn't bang? It's possible that Horner took his sloppy seconds, but so neither Bob. This is where I note that neither Bob nor Dutch can get the name of Sunday Bloody Sunday right, and then Bob obviously started reading off of his notes because he said it 3 times in a row. I don't want to call shenanigans on pro wrestling and insinuate that pro wrestling might be fake, but Trae, Robert Gibson flew Paul Morton in for this week's show. The Rock and Roll Express did not have a scheduled match. So if Morton didn't get chosen to beat the champ, what the hell was the point of flying him in as a surprise?
Okay, I get what you're saying, but I think that it's understood that the TV taping day is multiple shows. So, quote unquote, this show is not just this 1 hour. Like, I feel like even the people there understood that.
I like to think that the people in the arena or in the high school gym who watched 4 hours of this today realized it was more than 1 week.
Well, I would also assume that the people sitting at home watching it noticed that, okay, every 4 weeks they're in the same venue, and then they're in a different venue for 4 weeks, and then they're in a different venue for 4 weeks. It's it
Okay.
2 plus 2 ain't five.
So I like to think I was always a smart person and a smart child. Now I get there's a big difference between the Chilhowie High School gym and a 5 to 10,000 seat arena. But with the exception of like those early days of Raw where every week was in the Manhattan Center for like a year, it did not occur to me growing up that like Superstars and Wrestling Challenge would be in the same location every week for a month. Because like I guess it's like I didn't think about it because like it's just okay, here's a random big arena where wrestling is happening. It never got drilled into my head. Oh, they're in Syracuse today. Oh, they're in Syracuse this week too, and they're in Syracuse this week. What the hell's going on in Syracuse?
See, I wasn't watching wrestling as a child, but I think I would have noticed it just because that's the kind of thing that I was always kind of attuned to because I was, you know,
I mean, unless it was
weird
like
little kid.
I believe it like unless it was something really beaten into my head, like WCW Saturday Night is always at center stage, which is funny. I would say that since I never had TBS until WCW was out of center stage, actually. Um, but things like that, or like ECW, it seemed like every week was in the ECW arena. That, I picked up on pretty damn quickly. But yeah, for whatever reason, like random 5 to 10,000 seat arenas that in my head pretty much all looked the same back then, not to mention how much they all look exactly like this nowadays.
Ah,
Um, you know,
you
I
know,
actually
I,
I, I was watching the King of
I,
the Ring in Dayton, Ohio, the '93 King of the Ring, and like the
uh-huh.
one thing I always remember from that show was the yellow steps. They have yellow carpeting up and down all the steps, and that part of that,
Yeah.
it always came to me. And so I remember when Brett came back in 2010, it was in the same arena, and he brought that up. And I remember as 25 years old at the time, I'm like, "Oh, what happened to the yellow steps?"
Aw. I forgot what I was gonna
Or-
say. I had something loaded up and then
Then I
I
rudely
lost it.
talked over you.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
sorry.
or or like when Madison Square Garden got remodeled and got rid of the tunnel. Like I was so disappointed when we went to G1
Oh,
Supercard and they got rid of the
oh.
tunnel.
Just still sick about that. That's like sacrilegious. Getting rid of the
Yes, I agree.
fucking yeah. But so I think it's really cool that AEW has been running like smaller theater type venues that actually have some character. And
Hmm.
did you see they announced today in July they're doing a residency at a some kind of theater ballroom in Chicago. And I
Yeah,
Googled it and that place looks so fucking cool.
I didn't Google it, but I saw they're also doing ECW Arena in August.
Yeah.
And I I guess I mean it's saving money obviously because smaller arenas and smaller venues, require smaller production crews, require smaller staff, etc. So they're going to save money, but then part of me is like, how much are you really saving money? Because it's not like you're going to have 50 guys living in Chicago and Philadelphia for a month. You still have to fly everybody in Chicago once or twice a week, for a month. Then it's,
They're gonna get
I don't know. It doesn't seem like a huge savings. And I guess, hey, hopefully, because I think like didn't the esports arena like they paid AEW for that or whatever. So like, hey, if they're
it
getting,
was
a site
yeah.
fee, good for them.
Hey, I am cool with these short-term residencies, even if and yeah, like I assume that like Sky Blue and Kyle Fletcher and like the people who live in Chicago will be on every show, but like I'm sure that probably still saves money because one, you're not paying to rent an arena, presumably, or you're paying a much lower rate,
Yep.
and also, you don't have to pay for transportation to move your fucking ring and production shit around because it's gonna stay there for, you know, 3 4 weeks.
So that's the question mark. Are they going to be allowed to keep it all? Because it's not like they're doing like, oh, 7 days in a row or 8 days in a row. They're doing 8 shows over 4 weeks. Like, so is
Right,
ECW Arena just allowing them to keep all their stuff up for that period of
right.
time? Is
But
this place in Chicago?
even if they're not, they're taking it down and putting it in a warehouse. They're not driving it across the country.
Sure. Um, so one of the things I always liked when TNA started touring again in like 2018, and they'd be going to these random ass places, I looked them up in advance. Like there was that place in Toronto they went with, I don't know, it wasn't actually a chandelier, but like they had a hanging thing over the ring that was chandelier shaped, and that looked really cool. Or the Melrose Ballroom in New York, I went there for an MLW show. That was a really cool little venue for a wrestling show. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so like, yeah, I love all these little arenas with character. They don't have to be little. They could be big arenas with
Yeah.
character. The problem is though, it's like every arena now looks exactly the same.
Yeah,
And
pretty much all of those big basketball arenas look the same.
yeah. Um, and I remember like Madison Square, and I mean they can't do it because they'd have to replace the fucking roof. But one of the things I loved about Madison Square Garden was how different their ceiling looked. Like, you know what I mean? Like it looked different. It wasn't just a black hole of emptiness, you know.
Yeah.
And little things like that. There was some arena that WWF ran for TV tapings, and I don't know why they did it like this. Like maybe it's because this is where like the exit was or whatever, and they had to set it up this way. But like the entranceway wouldn't be straight; it would be like a greater than sign. You know, like it would go out and then turn down or whatever.
Yeah, I saw that a few places. I can't think of where specifically. I always thought that was kind of neat.
They've been
The
doing that when they've been running the Royal Rumble in like baseball stadiums, or
yeah,
nowadays where they
you
do the number seven.
yeah, and I like I always think that wrestling looks really cool in a baseball stadium, especially though when like there's
Hmm.
not a big set and the entrances come out of the dugout. And
Hmm.
but you remember like WrestleMania 19 that they
That's
had to have the
that's the one
big
I was
set
thinking of.
and yeah, they had to have the
Yeah.
big set because it's WrestleMania, but it's a fucking baseball stadium, so it's like shaped weird, and then you have a fucking 45-degree angle in the entryway.
I mean, it was a big set, but it really wasn't. Because like WrestleMania 17 was fucking gigantic. WrestleMania
Yeah.
18 was fucking gigantic. WrestleMania 19, like, it was almost like a step above an arena set. Like like they had the background and like the whatchamacallit, the monitors with the screens, but like it wasn't like 50 feet tall. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
I
but
wish I wish they had never started putting the set at Madison Square Garden. They should have always come through the tunnel.
I liked it when they did it at WrestleMania 20 because it was different because they'd always done just the tunnel. And so I like the fact that they used the tunnel to some degree. Like no one came out of it except during the Rock promo. But like they used the tunnel to put up like a screen with the match graphic, and then they had the entryway.
Yeah.
And um I know a lot of people don't like that WrestleMania went to stadiums, but as somebody who's been to 10 of them or however goddamn many I've been to, I was never going to be quick enough on the trigger to get an arena ticket for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
for
No.
for, for those curious about the Ricky Morton Chris Candido match we started talking about 10 minutes ago, um, suddenly a minute into the match, Bobby Blaze and Robert Gibson hit the ring. Not a disqualification, by the way, even though in theory it should have been. They hit the ring and drag Ricky. Well, they start telling Ricky Morton something, and Ricky Morton runs away at top speed and gets counted out. So our triple champion wins again. He is such a great champion that the other wrestlers are afraid to wrestle him. Ricky Morton literally ran away from the ring.
Yes, and I would really like to see a proper Chris Candido Ricky Morton match.
I'm confident we do because spoiler alert, Chris Candido is about to get into a tag team, and there's only four. They only ever have four tag teams on the roster, so I'm
Uh-huh.
confident Chris Candido is going to wrestle Ricky Morton at least once.
Yeah,
Um,
probably.
so from here, even though they're suspended, we have to listen to the Bruise Brothers. So let's go to the Harrises.
Jim Cornette, we're counting down the day. Put another one up there. We're counting down the day. Except the good thing about this is we running around free. We getting to have fun, visit people we ain't seen in a while. The only thing is, I think the law's about ready to get old Cornette and say, hey, lift their suspension and bring them back, because we can't control them. See, most of the time people got to come visit us. We visiting everybody, getting ready, and having a good time because we're celebrating, because we're coming back, and the Moondogs, we coming after you, boys. We're celebrating, and it's going to be a party time when we get a hold of you once and for all and settle this, boys.
Okay, so I I had to question this. Um, Ron, while Ron Harris is cutting that promo, Don is counting the days on the board on the wall behind him. Um, and he's listing as 14 days. And I guess they're looking at it like, well, they're counting the first week, but that was the week we heard about it. We just heard about this damn suspension last week, but that somehow was 7 days already. And I guess, well, it was after the Christmas show, the Christmas Chaos show. Um, yeah. Um, but I'm gonna press pause for a second, and we will be right back. And welcome back. Trae, you are no longer allowed to go to the bathroom during this show.
I'm really sorry. I right before, like an hour before we did the show, I ate about half of a large Domino's New York style pizza with pepperoni, bacon, jalapenos, and extra cheese, and I ought not have done that.
Shouldn't that extra cheese have blocked you up?
Cheese doesn't do that to me. It never has.
God damn it. Maybe we just didn't give you enough cheese. Yeah.
I don't know. I've eaten a lot of cheese. Cheese goes right through me. I think I'm a little bit lactose intolerant. I'm just like not enough to where it really affected me very much.
Hmm. All right. Well, now that we're done talking about your bowel movements, um, while you were away, I was ranting about the Harrises and specifically about how they were suspended a couple weeks. They were suspended last week, and we're already at 14 days. I mean, I guess we're
Wow.
retroactively putting it at Christmas chaos, but still,
Well, that would be 8 plus 6. That would, yeah, you're right. That would be 14 days.
which is hilarious because here we are on January 15th, and Christmas chaos is December 25th.
Oh, yeah. Look, I'm not I'm not a counting person. I don't do numbers.
So you're not Vinny, you're not good at math.
No, unless it's match times, I don't have anything to do with numbers.
And even that, you're not really doing math, you're just pressing the stop and start button.
Well, sometimes I have to add up the falls for a three fall match
Is that, do you find that difficult, Trey?
because I'm lazy and I use a little web app for it.
You use a web app to keep track of the falls in a best of three falls match.
No, just to add the times because it's fucked up
Okay.
because it's like base 60 instead of base 100 or whatever.
Yep, okay. All right, I'm starting to get worried about you that, you couldn't add one and one. Um,
No, I can handle
so,
that. I'm pretty good up until the point that they start putting letters in it.
A=1. So we rush backstage where Paul Morton is asleep on the floor. Or at least we're led to assume it is Paul Morton. But somebody is asleep on the floor. And other people are yelling to call for an ambulance. And Dirty White Girl ran out of the shower to bring water. What was she doing in the shower?
Getting water, obviously.
Fully dressed, by the way, too. So, I mean, I
Yeah,
guess I
she
should.
went in the shower to get water. Don't be obtuse.
I'm sorry for implying things about your girlfriend here. You should have heard what I said about Margie. Anyway, I don't know about you, but I blame Robert Gibson for this.
You know, Robert blames himself for it too.
Yep. No, okay, and I guess this didn't end up meaning anything, so I don't know why he did it. But Dutch randomly left the broadcast table at the end of the on camera with him and Caudle, and
Have to take a
I
leak.
guess yeah, I'm assuming it's because we're about to go to a promo with the Dirty White Boy. Yes, another promo with the Dirty White Boy, and typically Dutch disappears, during them, so we don't have anybody sitting in the background because they do it in front of the announce desk. But let's go to Bob Caudle with the aforementioned Dirty White Boy.
Is here with us right now, Dirty White Boy. White Boy, I don't know as I've ever recalled a match ending in such confusion. What in the world's happening in the locker room?
Well, I'll tell you.
Yeah, wait a minute.
I brought Ricky's dad here, man, try to surprise him by bringing his dad here, and I feel like all this is my fault.
Hey, no. What do you mean?
It's not your fault. Don't worry about it. Punky's upset right now. Go on back there and wait on the ambulance and take care of him, okay?
Yeah. Wait, well, wait a minute. You said, what happened? He said it was his fault. What happened then?
Well, we had Mr. Morton, Paul Morton, back in a separate dressing room, and we was going to bring him into our dressing room after Ricky's match started, and he went through the bathroom, and evidently he run into the Heavenly Bodies and Jim Cornette, and there was some words exchanged. From what I can gather, I don't know. You know how obnoxious Cornette can be, and apparently Paul Morton slapped the taste out of Cornette's mouth, and he reached back and grabbed some drain cleaner or something. The stuff's all over the floor, and it hit him in the eyes, and he's in pretty bad shape. And right now, we really don't know what's taking place. The ambulance are en route here right now. They're going to get him. So, I really don't know. I'm going to go back out here and see what's going on.
All right, White Boy, thank you so much for that explanation. And fans, at the moment is what we'll know. We'll try to find out more about Paul Morton a little later on. Right now, let's go to the ring.
Okay, so Paul Morton starts. I'm sorry, Jim Cornette badmouths Paul Morton. I mean, come on, it's Jim Cornette. He's gonna talk shit about people, and I blame Paul Morton for this. You're an older gentleman. You should know that, someone with a big mouth is running their yap. Just ignore them and walk away. But Paul Morton setting up.
Fucking fuck. So goddamn sick of Zoom.
So as you can tell, Trae's having audio issues.
Hey, look, I have really fucking fast internet. I swear. My internet speed is not the problem. For some reason, fucking Zoom is just the bane of my computer's existence.
Okay. Some people, the bane of their existence is drain cleaner. Others, it's Zoom. But can you hear me?
For the moment.
Okay, great. So, Corny apparently threw drain cleaner at Paul Morton, which apparently knocked him unconscious. And I don't know. I blame Paul Morton for this just as much as I blame Robert Gibson. Because, yeah, someone's running their mouth to you, but he doesn't have to fucking take the bait.
Well, I don't know. I feel like if you're a man, you can settle the response to a slap is not throwing chemicals in somebody's face. It's squaring up and fighting like a man.
Hey, by the sounds of it, Jim Cornette was as close to fighting like a man as he ever is going to be, because the story wasn't the Heavenly Bodies attacked Paul Morton and then Jim Cornette threw drain cleaner in his face. It was Jim Cornette threw drain cleaner in his face. So that's a step up for Jim Cornette.
That was from the way that he talked. Dirty White Boy did not witness this story. This is just what he heard happen. So the heavenly bodies very well could have assaulted poor Paul Morton here.
That's true. Let's return to the broadcast table in time for the Heavenly Bodies with Jim Cornette versus Jason Hearn and Jason West. Jim Cornette joined the table, and neither Hearn nor West was wearing a suit. God damn them. Cornette screamed that this is all Paul Morton's fault. And I did think it's funny that, like, as I mentioned, even when Dirty White Boy is telling the story from the babyface perspective, it's Paul Morton that, led it to violence. He's the one that slapped Cornette. Gibson at one point tried to hit the ring, but White Boy, Tracy, and Bobby Blaze all dragged him to the back. And note, this is all Robert Gibson's fault. And Jimmy Del Rey pinned one of the Jasons with the poon salt.
If you're keeping track, as I am for some stupid reason, he pinned Jay. Was it Hearn or Hurd?
I thought it was Hearn.
Probably. I think it was Hurd. When they first said it, I thought it was Hurd, and I'm like, did Cornette do that as a dig at Jim Hurd?
We would have called him James Hurd then.
Yeah, probably.
There's no Davey the Observer Meltzer on this show.
No. Yeah. I suspect a lack of objectivity in Cornette's account of what happened.
I mean, true, but, like I said, White Boy wasn't exactly, talking about how it's all Cornette's fault. He just said, well, we all know Cornette's got a big mouth.
Again, the Dirty White Boy was not a witness to these events. He was giving second or third hand information. We don't know who actually witnessed this attack.
But in theory, he heard about it from the unconscious Paul Morton. Because, otherwise, who else was telling the story?
Paul Morton was blinded. He told Dirty White Boy the story, and then he took a nap.
That's true. I'll be honest.
Blind people love naps.
Yes, we do. I've never had drain cleaner thrown in my face before, but I'd like to think I'd be squirming or screaming or something. Paul Morton just laying there, it's like as casual as can be. It's like
tough old man.
I'm like,
tough old
did
man.
he have a heart? When they showed him laying on the ground, I'm like, did he have a heart attack? Is that the story we're telling? That poor Paul Morton had a fucking heart attack.
I was so confused when it was like, okay, when I saw what happened, like, okay, somebody attacked Paul Morton and just stomped the shit out of him. And then, so again, we have not seen video. We have not heard the only first-hand account that we have heard was Jim Cornette's, and I think that one is a little bit suspect.
Uh-oh, did we lose you again, Trae?
No, I'm here. Did you get me? I was saying.
I heard you say Cornette's side was a little suspect, and then you went silent.
Yeah, I was. I think I was going to say something else, and then I forgot it, and then I was hoping that you would talk again, and then this happened.
Okay, great. Do you ever notice every week it's one of our problems with this show?
Yeah, funny that, isn't it?
Yeah. So let's go to a promo with the Furnaces, Doug and Mike.
Apologize to the good people of Knoxville, Tennessee. Not because we lost the match, because that's going to happen to everybody, but because the way it happened, the people there, they know what happened, but they used our university's helmet to beat two players from the University of Tennessee. You don't beat volunteers with their own helmet, boys. Bad things are going to happen to you. And let me tell you what they are. We have a match with the Heavenly Bodies February 13th. We had to agree to a couple of stipulations. One of them is that this helmet will be on top of a 10-foot pole. The first person to it gets to use it however they want to do, however they feel like they're man enough to use it. And believe me, we've used it for many things. We've beat in people's heads from Alabama, we've beat in people's heads from LSU, but this will be the first time we've ever beat somebody's head in without having it on ourselves. But that way you get a little more leverage, you get a little more oof when you hit them. So, boys, when Cornette brings you out there and tells you, don't worry about it, don't worry about it, they're going to lose, they're going to lose, they're going to have to put on those Alabama jerseys, and that's what happens if we lose. Get this, 2 people from the University of Tennessee are going to wear an Alabama sweatshirt. The day hell freezes over us when that'll happen, I promise you. It ain't going to go that way, boys. You guys are going to be going out with big lumps right on top of your coconuts.
Now you can.
Okay, so the first thing that comes out of Doug Furness's mouth is he's apologizing, and I'm like, it's not your fault that Mike is your brother.
Oh, I actually love this. I love this so much because I don't know. I grew up in the South where like college football is one step below, or maybe depending on the day of the week, one step below or ahead of Jesus Christ. And just this fucking stipulation. This is just the most classic Southern wrestling. This is understanding your audience, okay? That former University of Tennessee football stars, if they lose this match, they are going to suffer the indignity of having to wear Bama jerseys. Look, Southern wrestling was just plain better in every way.
It quite good. It's a tremendous concept. And I bet, the only other place they probably have done this was the campus of Auburn University. But, Doug and Mike aren't from Auburn. They're from Tennessee.
I think you could have done this anywhere in the SEC.
I just like the one thing you know about sports is college football. Not even really college football. The rivalries.
I know the SEC West mainly, because that was like Arkansas, Mississippi, Texas, Louisiana, like that area. I don't know what goes on the other side very much.
The people who go to their family reunion to meet women. By the way, best promo of Mike Furness's career right there.
Yeah, by far.
Yeah. So we have some breaking news, and this is real life breaking news.
Oh.
Eric and Lyle Menendez were resentenced to 50 years in prison, making them eligible for parole.
Oh, I kind of just saw that and it didn't quite click. I knew Menendez brothers were some kind of murderers, and then now I'm seeing on my new tab page on Firefox, found guilty of killing their parents in 1989.
Yes, and Lyle Menendez apparently said to the judge today that he killed his mom and dad. No excuses. And Eric admitted to lying for years and apologized. Okay then. So, nice real life stuff here in the middle of our professional wrestling program.
This just reminds me of are you familiar with Gypsy Rose Blanchard and that whole thing?
I'm familiar with the name. I don't really I couldn't tell you the story.
It's okay. She was like, her mother was crazy, and she was a victim of, they call it Munchausen by proxy, where like her mother made her believe and made her act like she was like really terribly ill. And and eventually she like hooked up with this guy on the internet, and like he fucking comes to Missouri from Indiana, wherever the fuck, and like kills her mom, and then they get caught with it. And she did like I guess like 8 or 10 years in prison and got out maybe like toward the end of 2023, I think. And there's like I only know about this because my wife is just fascinated by the whole situation, so I get updates. But it's like there's been so much drama that she was with this one guy, and then she got with the other guy, and they got married, but now now she's pregnant, and is it the one guy's or the other guys? And one of the guys is a wrestling fan, and they were at AEW like when they went to New Orleans a couple of years ago, just to tie it back into wrestling. And yeah, the point was, because we were talking about the Menendez brothers, it was like she has gotten into all this shit from like not obeying her probation, doing all kinds of stupid shit. And it's like, if she had just shut the fuck up, like, if you listen to their story, like, you're kind of on her side. And she just wouldn't shut the fuck up. So yeah, if you kill somebody, shut the fuck up about it. If you kill somebody and you manage to get some kind of sentence other than life in prison or the death penalty, shut the fuck up about it forever.
Yeah. You are able to somehow get away with any kind of crime.
Hey.
So from here we get our main event, which is our heavyweight champion, Primetime Brian Lee, with Tammy Witch with a capital B, versus Bobby Blaze, whose names also have a capital B in them. There are a lot of B's in this match.
B. Yeah.
B. So I guess he's been doing this for a while, but I don't know why this is the first time I really noticed this. Primetime Brian Lee is now wrestling in jeans instead of his normal trunks.
He's been pretty much doing that since he turned heel, hasn't he?
Possibly, but for some reason it never really clicked in my head until this week. You know, I don't even know why. Maybe because he doesn't wrestle on TV all that often anymore. Like he used to be on every week when he was a babyface. So we'll see if this is what you marked out for. I marked out for Blaze ducking an elbow and hitting 85% of what is better known as Trouble in Paradise.
That was pretty good, man. Bobby Blaze's comeback was pretty good here. They had a nice little 4-minute match, actually. The thing that I popped for was okay. The finish it's a 4-minute match. So fucking Blaze whips Lee into one corner, hits a stinger splash, whips him into the other corner, goes for a stinger splash. Brian Lee moves. Bobby Blaze takes the turnbuckle full on, and then Brian Lee does this move that looks so fucking cool. And it's like, I watch a lot of wrestling and a lot of like really suplex oriented wrestling. I can think of maybe 1 or 2 times ever that I've ever seen anybody do something resembling a wrist clutch backdrop suplex. And I just thought that was cool as shit. So good on Brian Lee.
Yeah, I just called it a back suplex. You marked out for that one a little bit more than I did, apparently.
Okay, so it would be a really cool variation, like if somebody like Yuji Nagata or like Taichi or somebody who uses like a backdrop suplex as a finish, because in Japan for whatever reason the wrist clutch version of the move is more devastating. Something there. Just thought it'd be cool.
Okay, and I'm not saying it wasn't cool. It was very cool. All right, so yeah, Primetime Brian Lee wins clean. You know, Vince Russo's head exploded. And then we ended the show with a promo by Vito Marinara. Let's go to Bob Caudle and Vito right now.
And here he is, the wild-eyed Southern boy, Tracy's mother. Tracy, this is Chris Candido. He's been giving you a lot of problems lately.
Yeah, he has, but you know what, Bob? I was the most disgusting thing I think I have ever seen. Jim Cornette, you and the Heavenly Bodies have gone too far, man. Are you out of your mind? That is Ricky Morton's father, man. Winning and losing a wrestling match is one thing, but when you come to somebody's family, that's another. I hope that God help you, Heavenly Bodies and Cornette, because the Rock and Roll Express, Ricky Morton in particular, is going to get his revenge. Now, Chris Candido, Suicide Blonde, you want a shot at the big time? Well, I'm going to make you famous, my man. I ain't from old stinking Pennsylvania, and my name ain't Vino, whatever it is. My name is Tracy Smothers, the wild-eyed Southern boy. I'm going to tell you this, I'm not going east, I'm not going west, I'm coming north and south, and I'm coming right through you. You cost me the Smoky Mountain Heavyweight Title. You took a foreign object and hit me and beat me for the TV title. You got 3 belts, you're WWA Heavyweight Champion with that goof Dennis Corleone. Well, I'll stick that thing up your buttocks sideways, boy.
You dropped me on my head in Christmas chaos, and I suffered a concussion. That's not the first one I've had, and it probably won't be the last, but it ain't gonna be done by you. 1994 is the year that the South is gonna rise again. These colors don't run because I'm American by birth and I'm Southern by the grace of God.
All right, fans, the wild-eyed Southern boy.
All right. So, I guess I should apologize because he did correct me. He's not Vito Marinara. He is Tracy Smothers. You know,
that Italian temper of his is going to get him in trouble.
It is, or you might end up in taking a detour into Nashville, Italy.
You know, Candido might have been ahead of the curve. He knew something we didn't know until later.
Exactly.
That Tracy Smothers is in fact a full-blooded Italian.
God damn it! We should all apologize to Chris Candido now. So first he says that Jim Cornette doing that to Paul Morton is the worst thing he's ever seen. Note to Tracy, you did not see it. You're taking the word of an old man.
Maybe he's the one that saw it and told Tony Anthony what happened.
I mean, it's very possible. He said he's going to make Chris Candido pay for alleging he's from Schuylkill Haven. And then Tracy's claimed Candido had 3 belts. He does not have 3 belts. He has 2 belts. And then he said that 1994 is the year the South will rise again. I thought he said 1993 was the year the South would rise again. Hell, he also said 1992 was the year the South would rise again. It's 2025. There are people dressed like Tracy Smothers saying that this is the year the South will rise again.
I think they may be right this time, the way things are going.
Can y'all just fucking secede from the union, please?
Hey, I'm down here. Don't lump me in with that shit.
We'll move you up north. We'll take you where all the good people are.
Weed's legal there, right? Let's go.
In certain states.
I'm gonna go.
If you want to come, like Massachusetts, move here, or Colorado, or Washington, or isn't it legal in California too? Isn't that what Cornette was always saying about Dave Meltzer?
Yeah, California, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, New Mexico, Nevada, all legal states.
Mm-hmm. So I can't currently find it. I'm just scrolling through YouTube right now, but there was a commercial for like an auto body shop in Connecticut in like the early 2000s that had Bob Backlund in it, and it was very much Bob Backlund. You know, I want you to picture Bob Backlund doing a commercial for an auto body shop, and it was definitely Bob doing a commercial for an auto body shop.
That sounds awesome.
Yes. Let me see if I can find it. Go ahead.
Shout out to Walker Stewart, because it pops me whenever Fred Rosser was wrestling on the show last week. And Walker always makes sure to mention that he was trained by Bob Backlund.
Tremendous. And I think I found the commercial. I don't know how much of a commercial is because it's 90 seconds long, but I'm going to play it. Free plug for Rollins Automotive.
Hey, Connecticut, are you tired of getting ripped off by mechanics that you don't trust? Here at Rollins Customized Automotive, we have what the other guys only dream about. And we know a thing or two about trust. We've been working on vehicles from mile to mile for the past 20 years.
I promise Bob is coming up soon.
Hello, Connecticut. I'm here to tell you that Mr. Backlund's been in the wrestling business his whole life. Traveled all over the world. But Rollins Automotive is the only automotive company that he gained complete trust in. Believe me, ladies and gentlemen, complete trust.
Hey, what's going on here? Whoa. This would have never happened at Rollins Automotive. You got that? Hey, young lady, let me bring you to where the good people are at.
I'm going to send this to you after.
Rollins Automotive will even pick you up. 50 miles of free towing. Just tell them Mr. Bachman sent you.
Oh God, I've never loved a local Connecticut commercial so much in my life.
Okay, one week for the spot show, we need to just like watch a bunch of random shit like that, like short, goofy, crazy things that are on YouTube.
I think we could just do that just with Bob Backlund. Short,
I
goofy
have
Bob Backlund stuff.
I'll have to. I'm not gonna send it to you because I'm gonna save it until we do this and I can get your reaction live. I have a fucking hilarious campaign commercial of this guy who was running for school board in I think Arkansas.
Okay. I remember, I don't know if it's still up, but there was a video on YouTube for years of like the top 10 wackiest political commercials, and one of them was Bob Backlund standing on like a field while traffic is going by, and he suddenly stops and screams, "Don't honk your horn when I'm talking on television!" And just tremendous. Shockingly, Bob Backlund did not win his race for the Connecticut House of Representatives, I believe it was.
What a travesty! If
Yes.
he'd have lasted a little longer in the 2000 Royal Rumble, I bet he would have won.
Yes. Oh, when he was politicking in New York for his role running for Connecticut House of Representatives.
Okay, I have a hypothesis.
Okay.
I believe that whenever something comes through on my phone, which I am not using Zoom on, I'm using Zoom on my desktop. But when something comes through on my phone, it fucks with Zoom somehow.
Okay.
Because
Dear,
because I noticed it because I got a notification while you were talking and it went out, and then I put my phone on airplane mode and it stopped. So we'll see.
well, I guess it's good that the show's almost over then, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe I'll remember it next week.
Maybe we should do a bonus show tomorrow just to make sure you remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the sound of Trae screaming, "No!"
No. Done enough shows.
Yes, I know. All right, so that's gonna do it there, Tiger. Sorry, my Stewart impression really sucks this week. Man,
What a show about nothing we did tonight.
wow, what an insult to Smoky Mountain Wrestling, holding the show about nothing.
No, the show was great. It is just we talked about the
Oh,
show and then we had like a whole side show about a bunch of other random bullshit.
hey, you know what I haven't done yet? I haven't told you what else has happened in the world of wrestling this week. I also haven't said we're 103 down and 97 to go. Um,
All right.
so what else happened in the world of wrestling? Eric Bischoff visited New Japan Pro Wrestling to try to mend their relationship. According to Dave, New Japan won't pay what they used to, but will get Rick Rude for a week, and WCW is going to get Muda for Spring Stampede. And I remember
Uh,
Bischoff once saying that, I think it was in his book, so take this with a grain of salt, but that New Japan had paid WCW big money for talent, and then WCW fucked them over. And so in order to re-sign this contract, New Japan didn't pay them anything for like the first year.
that sounds like Eric Bischoff.
It sounds, I don't want to say it sounds truthful, but I mean, because I mean, when the hell would that have even taken place? Because like 92, like they sent all those guys over for the G1, and maybe I'm just completely over estimating how big that a deal that was, but it felt like both sides were working pretty well at that point. And especially since WCW kept bringing in Shono and Muda. They had Hashimoto for the Great American Bash. Um, but yeah. Um, okay, this is one of
Yeah.
those things that if you're a new fan and don't really follow the inside news of the 90s, this may not seem like that big of a deal, but it really was. WCW signed Zane Breslov as a promoter. And
Oh.
yeah, so it is a big deal because he was a major promoter in the WWF, including being the live event promoter for WrestleMania 3 at the Pontiac Silverdome, uh, which, depending who you asked, did between 78,000 and 93,173. No other amounts, either 78,000 or 93,173. That's the God's
And
honest fact. One of those two.
and he completely overhauls WCW's house show business.
And I mean, at this point, somebody had to because, like 1993 was their worst year ever, and I think that includes 2000 and 2001, which really
Yeah.
fucking tells you something.
Yeah,
Um,
Bischoff deserves credit for the television, but the live event promoting was Zane Breslov.
yeah. Um, and one of the big gets is Zane got them booking at the Rosemont Horizon in Chicago for Spring Stampede '94, which which I think is the first time they ever got the Rosemont Horizon because that's been a WWF building. Um, and in response to
Yeah.
that, the WWF is going to send a bunch of guys to Smoky Mountain for a house show in Georgia come March. So I think that's one with Owen Hart, 1-2-3 Kid, Lex Luger, and other people of that ilk.
Oh, nice.
Which
Oh
it's
God.
fun. It. Mhm.
Oh, I wonder if it happens in the WWF. I just had the random thought Owen Hart versus Chris Candido would be awesome.
I'm pretty sure they wrestled in the WWF once. Like I
Yeah,
could be
probably.
wrong. I could be wrong, but I think they were a '96 King of the Ring match. Like not the pay-per-view, but the tournament.
I have to look
But
at up.
I could be wrong. It sounds right in my head anyway.
Sounds good enough to me.
Yeah. So it's funny because like I remember like especially as the years go by, WWF is always the Rosemont Horizon and WCW would move to the United Center. But this was like the one year where for whatever reason it was backwards, where
Yes.
WCW got the Rosemont Horizon and WWF got United Center.
Yeah, because SummerSlam was at the United Center.
Yep, with the Bret Owen cage match and Primetime Brian Lee as the Undertaker. Poor Primetime Brian Lee. Hopefully he got a decent paycheck out of that one. And then January 17th in Madison Square Garden was not a good night to be the 1-2-3 Kid. First, he and Marty Jannetty ended their 1 week reign as WWF Tag Team Champions, losing them back to the Quebecers. And then he broke his leg during an MSG Royal Rumble, which was won by Owen Hart.
Damn, that sucks.
Yep. That was also the MSG show that they're supposed to have the Heavenly Bodies and the Rock and Roll Express. I don't know if they were in the Rumble or if they were just going to wrestle each other in a tag match, but there was a really bad snowstorm in that area, in like the Mid-Atlantic, Southeast area, so they couldn't get out.
That's a bummer.
Yeah. But if it helps, Heavenly Bodies do eventually wrestle at Madison Square Garden. I don't know if the Rock and Roll will do. I imagine they probably did during that 98 run. But that's just, my guess anyway. All right. So that pretty much brings us to a close. Who knows how long this damn show went since we took like a 30-minute intermission for somebody here to
Yeah,
go to the
sorry.
bathroom because he couldn't hold it like I did. And right now
I couldn't.
It's all good. Right now I'm just talking so I can read 1998 WWF results. Let's see.
I'm not seeing Madison Square Garden come up for Ricky Morton on Cage Match.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the history of WWE.com doing a control F search for New York. And yeah, it's like they did not make it. I mean, you look at some of these matches that happened, you'd be like, man, I bet even 1998 Ricky Morton would have been a lot better than some of this shit.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt.
And it's like, let's just say this, the WWF was not on fire in 1998 um, because they had great wrestling. And that's a sound
Yeah.
you hear people complaining as, oh, what do you mean they didn't have great wrestling? Steve Austin was in the main events. Like, okay, great. Watch every match on a pay-per-view other than the Steve Austin match. And now tell me about all the great wrestling they had.
Yeah, that was, WCW had strong undercards and shitty main events, and WWF had shitty undercards and strong main events.
And that was the case from basically when Brett got the title from Diesel in the end of
Yeah.
'95.
Hmm.
Um, and it's like WWF was already far into the lead at this point, but WWF does not complete the destruction of WCW until 2000 when they've already got Jericho and they get Benoit, Malenko, Guerrero, and Saturn because it literally took all of their work rate guys out of WCW and put them into the WWF undercard. And suddenly, oh, look, the WWF pay-per-views were having great matches in the middle of the card and the main event.
You know what really made WCW look uh minor league in my 12-year-old Martin brain was like the
When
so
Ben,
the first Raw that I ever watched was the last Raw that Jeff Jarrett appeared on until 20 fucking 18 or whatever.
okay.
And so he that Sunday he loses the Intercontinental title to China, and then he goes to WCW, and within 2 months is the U.S. champion, and within 6 months is the World Heavyweight champion.
So is this just because, Jarrett lost to a woman or just because it's Jarrett?
I mean, I don't have anything against Jeff Jarrett. It's just booking wise, well, I don't know. I'm sure Russo thought it didn't matter, but Russo doesn't know shit about fuck.
Come on, bro. See, I think this is where it's kind of funny because, everyone's like, oh, Russo, like it was kind of like a last minute thing. He went and talked to WCW and Terry Taylor. But like this is where it's like, yeah, but because they were originally going to do the China title switch at the Unforgiven show 3 weeks beforehand, and Russo basically talked them out of it, knowing that Jarrett's contract was coming up. And but he's like, oh man, there's another pay-per-view. We could just do a rematch then, bro. And everyone agreed to it. And I'm thinking he kind of already knew he was leaving, and this was going to be his big statement was to get Jeff Jarrett to jump. And I mean, technically that's what happened, but I mean it wasn't Luger showing up on the first Nitro. It wasn't Benoit showing up after walking out as world champion. It was it was a cool moment, don't get me wrong, but it was not an epic moment, an epic all-time great moment or anything like that.
Hmm. We have a run-in. Pearl has
Pearl
joined
has
the
joined.
podcast.
Hey, sweetie. Hey, sweetie. Oh.
Go meow into the
Hi,
microphone. Say hi. Sweet baby. Sweet, sweet
Pearl
baby.
is shy.
She's the least shy one. She's the most sociable.
Well, maybe we'll ask Pearl to do an Irish accent sometime. Um, but okay, that's gonna do it for this week's show, as we just confused all 46 people listening to this. Um, thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you again in 7 days.
Bye.